For our final session in here today, I would like to welcome Kenya's Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife and the Secretary General of the UN's World Tourism Organization to the stage. Please, thank you. Thank you both. Please take a seat wherever you feel comfortable. Yeah.
Football and rugby.
Excuse me?
Football and rugby.
Oh, and rugby. I apologize. Okay. Mr. Balala, I'd like to start with you. This conference, a lot of positive news and sentiment coming out about Africa in general. How does that reflect the situation here in Kenya?
Well, first of all, Kimberley, thank you very much for being invited here today and for everybody who's coming for this conference. I think we need to change the perception of the African continent being the dark continent, nothing works, chaos. But now people have realized they've lost out, and the African continent is coming back and is rising. So yes, every country in the 54 countries in Africa, things have changed. And when yesterday we came in with a number of ministers, you could see quite a number of the chains of hotels already having footprints in these countries. So this is positive. Definitely, Kenya was a pioneer for tourism for the sub-Saharan Africa. And because probably we were just stuck to the past and the status quo, we never progressed like the rest of us in the region. But then suddenly things have changed. And because Kenya's tourism was very turbulent, and it goes through that turbulent and volatile systems. So we said, fine, what do we do to change it? So we have a clear strategy now. And we are happy that people have taken our strategies seriously in the last 10 years. I remember, and I met their core group here. I happened to have met them in Paris 10 years ago. And today ACO have footprints in Kenya. So that is positive. But we were clear 10 years ago what we wanted in the tourism sector. And just recently we launched our national blueprint, where we are very clear as well in the 4 pillars, as I mentioned in the morning: marketing, investment, product development, and infrastructure. And that is the focus we are putting as government so that we can be able to attract the investment that is required in the sector.
Okay, thank you. I want to pick up on what you said on marketing and ask you, Zurab, because a panel I held yesterday, a lot of the gentlemen were talking about the perception and the difference between this perception and the reality of Africa and the need for Africans to tell their own story. How do you feel countries can do that, to change that perception and reflect more the reality of the continent?
First of all, I want to use the stage and mention and underline the importance of this event. I'm really impressed and surprised because today, most important thing in our life is time. And I see so many big names, high-level representatives, that it's not easy. I've been in shoes of minister. I was also minister of my country. And number one priority for us, it was investment, foreign direct investment, which was the most important part of our economy. And I've done lots of things, but this is incredible that so many big companies are representatives with concrete projects they already done, and the dynamic and the growth of this dynamic, it's very impressive and very important for the continent. In every our colleagues and friends in their and during their session, we heard a lot about that future of tourism is in Africa, and African continent is booming now. This is only beginning, I think, and I'm sure. I hope that these kind of events and this kind of unity will give us to share experiences, first of all. All of us, we need, first of all, political stability. I will go a little bit out of the question, but I will be back. And support from government. As you see, the minister these 3 days is like a general manager of everything. And he's very open, very close to public sector, with private sector. That's too important, and this is a very good example. And we have to copy-paste this example in other countries. Now I will go to the question. First of all, the marketing point of view and branding point of view, we all agree with the African ministers, and we already started, but starting from January we will have our communication strategy and our concrete vision how to change the mentality out of Africa, because in many occasions we heard many negative things, and this is communication strategy we have to improve, and we have to work on it, and I'm sure that we will have a huge impact and huge results on it. Then we have 56 or 54 countries like our member states as well in our organization, and we individually working with them. This is another thing that people see, that Africa, everything is the same. No, it's absolutely different. It's like France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, all are different countries. Syria is the same, nothing to do Kenya with, I don't know, to Morocco. Egypt is another story. So we have to identify and brand all of them individually. And Seychelles, it's another story. I mean, all of them have different culture, different people, different language, different cuisine. And that's why we are. And again, we are very glad, very ambitious and very proud to work with African ministers, African countries, individually to help to support them. Very important thing for all of us in this room and out of this room is statistics. In statistics, this is one of the most important and very important part of our job, and we still need statistics to improve in all African continent, and that's also because without measurement it's very difficult to forecast your business, and this is another challenge we have. We have lots of things, very interesting things, and during this conversation me and Minister will try to explain what we are doing, where we are going. We know that we have lots of things to do together, and that's why we will be more active, and we will have more and more this kind of relationship.
Okay, well, let's talk about where we're going, Mr. Balala. The National Tourism Blueprint for 2030. Can you just tell us a bit more about that?
Well, we have 4 pillars in the National Tourism Blueprint, which we appointed Grant Thornton to design it for us. It was consultative. So we identified the 4 pillars, which is first is marketing. So we have looked at the Kenya Tourism Board and looked at it and said, what do we do that we can be more efficient and more effective in our strategies? And the investment that we put in there, we have a return of investment. So we have looked at it, and now we have realized the digital model or the digital platform needs to be used effectively to save money, but also to reach. Because the survey we have done is 80% of the people who want to go for vacation, they definitely go through the internet first. So that is what we are now doing. And the Kenya Tourism Board has been mandated now to use the digital platform as a means to market Kenya. Then we have gone to infrastructure. Infrastructure, we have spread the country, and now we have realigned what tourism needs and what the projects are being developed. So for example, the train from Mombasa to Nairobi, the SGR, which takes 4.5 hours, 500 kilometers, $10 economy, and $30 on first class. So that takes huge numbers, 1,000 people, 4,000 people daily on that route, apart from air, apart from road. So we have seen infrastructure being key. So it's rail, it's as well as road, and now we have improved, and we are working on the road to complete it from Narok to Masai Mara Gate. So that is now almost 60–70% ready. It should be completed hopefully by mid next year. So infrastructure is key, and infrastructure is not just about the road transport and rail transport, but infrastructure in terms of airports. We are now, hopefully by end of this month, we are going to commission $60 million in Moi Airport refurbishment. We are going to commission the construction of a second runway. Hopefully decision is going to be made before end of this year.
Mombasa.
Nairobi. Nairobi is the second runway. We hope we can make that decision by end of this year. We also anticipate conclusion of tendering be done on Terminal B, C, and D. We have developed Terminal A, so that is good, but it's exclusive for Kenya Airways and Sky Team. We want the other airline also to benefit from the other refurbishment that we are going to do. But also we have realized it's just not about infrastructure alone, it's about the experience. So the President has appointed the team of 3 ministers to supervise the efficiency and the seamless flow of visitors into the country at the airport from the minute they land in at the airport to the time they leave. So the 3 ministers is myself, the Minister of Interior and Immigration, and the Minister of Transport. So we see, I can tell you there's been major improvement of service, but we have not reached there. We want to make it seamless. It's not easy. And many times I've queued for an hour in the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, but I've queued for 2 hours at Schiphol Airport and 1.5 hours at Heathrow Airport. So it's nothing new, but I don't want to be like them. I want to be a friendly airport because I am a long-haul tourist destination. So that is my target. And then we have the issue of investments. And investments here, we want to encourage the private sector to come in and say, how do we invest in your country, not only in hotel beds, but how do we create an experience beyond the hotel? And that's why when I see quite a number of groups here which are investing huge hotels in Africa, I think the whole concept is changing. It's not just about a hotel room. It's about an experience of a destination. And probably this is the time the hotels need to appreciate. I think they need to have a value add from the hotel room. I think there are more activities. And now we are looking at Nairobi. Nairobi has always been a transit city. And now we want Nairobi to be a destination. So you come, you stay in a good hotel, but also you have activities around the city to make you busy and to spend more time in Nairobi. So all this time, Nairobi has been transit, go to Masai Mara, or go to Mount Kenya, or go to the beach. But now we want to say, no, you spend more time, because there's a Nairobi National Park if you want to go to wildlife. There's the art scene in Nairobi, which is vibrant. There is the nightlife, which is really hot, and party city. Yeah? And then there is the food, the gastronomy, which is coming up well. Then there is the heritage sites, which we encourage the counties to develop, both in Nairobi and around. And then the short trips that you can do. You can take a train to Amboseli, and then offload at Amboseli and drive to the national park in Amboseli, or drive all the way to Naivasha. And these are the things what we know. But in terms of infrastructure, our mega infrastructure that we are targeting is to have the SGR, the train coming from Mombasa to Kisumu. By end of next year, we'll have the SGR to Naivasha. By 2024-25, we should have the SGR coming to Kisumu. And then we are doing the dueling from Malindi to the border of Tanzania in Lunga Lunga. So we are going to have dueling of the roads from Malindi to Mombasa, Mombasa to Diani, Diani to Lunga Lunga, where is the border of Tanzania. So that infrastructure. And then there is a road we are looking at from Lamu to Mombasa, but from Lamu to Isiolo, again, because we have a big LAPSET project for the Northern Corridor, which we want to connect our pipeline, oil pipeline to Lamu, where the port is being built currently. So that is another corridor we are developing in the northern side. But so far, if you want to reach Ethiopia from Nairobi, you can literally take 8 hours, drive all the way via Nanyuki, go to Isiolo, go to Moyale, and you're in the border of Kenya and Ethiopia. And it's a brand new road that has been completed late last year. So infrastructure has been key, and I believe it is the enabler for tourism. 2 key enablers for tourism is security and infrastructure. Without these 2, you'll not be able to get the business rolling. And then it is us working together with you, the investors, the hotel investors. How do we package and market the destination? I think there should be a role being created, a serious role, that there is a correlation between the hotel chains and the marketing boards, so that when we go out there, we market together, rather of You build a hotel and wait and assume things will happen. A good example is Nairobi. Already people are talking about there are too many rooms in Nairobi. I don't think it's a matter of too many rooms. It's we have not done anything to bring the numbers more in Nairobi. If we have a collaboration structure, I think we can make Nairobi busy every day, rather of wait for government to bring the big conferences to Nairobi. That will not be sustainable for the businesses in Nairobi. That's why we say this time we want to encourage the hotels to move out of Nairobi. But I believe we have not done enough together to make Nairobi busy continuously throughout the year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I will add a little bit because it's very, very, very important for all of us, infrastructure issue, as Minister mentioned. And we are very glad that Kenyan government invested in infrastructure in every country, more or less they're trying to do themselves. We are very active with African Union Bank. We just started negotiation last June. I'm sure that they will support this very important project to invest in infrastructure. We have, from the another hand, Chinese government. They committed to invest in 2 months ago. We had China-African state leaders meeting, and this is very compromising. And they are committed to invest $60 billion, which is quite big start for Africa. The first component was security, and I absolutely agree that that's important. And investing in infrastructure, that's, if we ask all investors, that's what they need, and it's too important. And another very important issue where we can be very collaborative is education. I'm sure that all of you need more training centers to train people here, more professionals, and this is another very big and important business in African continent. Ebola is not coming to African continent. Over-tourism is coming to African continent. That's important, and we are sure, and we will have over-tourism here. In Europe, we already have it, and all people are talking about it, but here we will have another over-tourism. If governments invest right, if we will have stability here, and we will have, I'm sure, in it, peace, infrastructure, education, and at the end of the day, most important thing for us, like UN specialized organization, is job creation. We need more jobs, we need more educative jobs, and that's why we are here, and all these components bringing together at the table will have a huge impact on the continent, and to have a huge impact on all families, which is very important for all of us. That's it, sorry.
Let's talk about training and job creation. I'll go back to the panel that we had yesterday. One of the biggest issues, they said, is that there is no training, and the governments across Africa. I asked the gentleman, is there any government in Africa that helps with the training, or is collaborating with you on training? And they couldn't name any of them. I mean, Mr. Balala, what is the Kenyan government doing about training all these people who desperately want jobs?
That is not true. Kenya government has been the pioneer of hotel training in Africa, not only in Kenya. We established the Kenya Hôtelier College in 1970 with the Swiss government. It's now old. Probably we need to refresh it. But till now, Kenya Hôtelier College produces the basic hotel skill development for the industry. The problem, again, that we have not taken it seriously, people come into the country, they invest. They don't invest in people. They invest in the physicalness of the assets. And we have a challenge today that there is a lot of poaching of skills from different hotels, and that doesn't help the industry. I think the industry needs to come together and ask us, government, what can we do to support them? Because these people are going to work for them. We have Kenya Hôtelier College producing almost 1,200 people every year in skills. It might not be the best skills, but at least we give the basics. But I can tell you, you go to all the hotels in Kenya. You go to all the hotels in Dubai and the Middle East. Most of the people there of African origins are Kenyans. And they get their skills from where? Kenya Hôtelier College. Next year, we are going to open another facility in the coast, Ronangala Hôtelier College. And that is another project that we want. And I've offered this morning to the hotel industry, can we find a mechanism to partner and get this new project as a collaboration between government and the private sector? So we in Kenya are very open. And also, Kenya Hôtelier College have helped our colleagues in the region. We have given scholarships to Uganda, to Rwanda. Recently, I gave scholarships to Zambia. Yeah, we are working with Angola. Today, we had a meeting with Zimbabwe and with Sierra Leone. So we want, I believe what is good for Kenya is also good for Africa, or what is good for Africa is good for me as well. So I don't want just to think just locally, but how do we make the whole continent benefit from the tourism sector? Because I know long-haul destinations, you need to have multiple vacations or multiple destinations to visit. So yes, if they come to Kenya and go to Uganda and go to Rwanda and see the gorillas, I benefit because they started from Kenya. So this multiple collaboration, and that's why we started the UniVisa between Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda. As one visa, you pay cheaper, and it's valid for 3 months, you can travel all over. So these are the collaborations we want. And the Kenyan government has been always open in collaboration, both in training, but also in supporting other countries in the region.
Zurab, do you think that this is sentiment that's mirrored, that's reflected across the continent, in particular?
Of course, just before to coming in this room, we agreed to send Kenyan professionals. First step to send Kenyan professionals and hoteliers to our headquarters and to train them, to have trainees here. We are offering this kind of services to all our member states, but especially for Africa, it's very important issue. The second big and more general project will be to set up the educational hub. I think that one of the first will be here in Nairobi, and to have big hotelier school like we have in Europe, many of them, under our umbrella UNWTO Academy. We are working still on methodology, on products. Even we are looking for to have a subject in the schools like tourism. This is something new I can announce. To have a subject tourism. Tourism is very close to geography. Tourism is close to everything. Tourism is more than tourism, I would say. And absolutely, we are at the same line that I mentioned. Education is crucial, and all investors need professionals here. Don't to think where can they train them, where have to send them. Again, I want to recall all our friends and all our businessmen to participate in this project if they have some will. They want to be the part of this business. Again, it's very important business and profitable business, which will be in this continent and everywhere. In Europe, we have the same demand. In Americas, we have the same demand. In Asia, look at Asia. All of ministers, all of governments, they are government body, they are asking for education. Because it seems a little bit strange, but we don't have many specialized schools or universities or business schools in tourism. You have finance, you have business, MBA, you have everything, agriculture, architecture, but never tourism. Step by step, it's becoming, the sector becoming more popular, more prestigious. Look, 15 or 20 years ago, chief of the restaurant, it was somebody. Now, he forget the prestige, he earned more than sometimes CFO or general manager of hotel. So this is becoming trendy, let's say, the tourism sector, but again, we have a lot of things to do, a lot of work, especially in African continent, and we are very glad to have partners like Kenya is. There are many countries who are very active, very interesting to support these ideas. Another very important issue will be innovation. We are investing a lot, our resources. We are not a big organization, financially speaking, but all our human resources we focused on innovation to pitch and to attract European business models to Africa, to take African success in entrepreneurs to Europe, to connect with China and Asia. This is another story. We started with Chinese government. I just came from China, and China will be next very important market for African continent. We still don't have enough connectivity. We don't still have enough tourists coming from China, and we agree with the Chinese government to issue the guide and to work what Chinese tourism like. We will prepare concrete receipts to have all Chinese tourists happy everywhere, in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in Russia, and in Spain.
Didn't Chinese numbers to South Africa drop 17% last year?
Yes, but we have to measure impact, what happened there, but I'm sure that it will become and it will increase, because again, if we will see the connectivities between China and African countries, there is huge space, and I'm sure that next 10, 15 years, the numbers of Chinese tourists will increase year by year, like it happened in Europe. In Europe, it's the same. This is the just beginning. And another, China is India. India will become another very interesting market for all of us, and I'm sure that India is one of the fast-growing economy in the world. And as economy is growing, the outbound tourism is growing. This is the impact. Automatically, we have experiences all over the world. Again, 63, or I don't want to remember this number, 70 million tourists for Africa, it's nothing. Our headquarters is in Spain, and Spain received last year 83 million tourists. Imagine, so we're talking about a continent of 1.3 million of population, maybe more, and only Spain received 83 million. So the future is here, and future for 10, 20, or 30 years of working or create new jobs, create new companies, create new projects, and et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Probably, Kimberley, we want to say that the numbers that we receive in Africa, we don't deserve it, but probably we are too rigid in venturing into new markets. We have only 62, 65 million people coming to Africa. Spain is 83. Yeah, France is 80-something. So you could see the numbers are very small. But the way the continent is opening up now, we are targeting, hopefully by 2030, we have 150 million people coming to Africa. Are we ready for it? Is infrastructure ready? Is security ready? Are the facilities ready? Those are the things we need to evaluate and say, do we ready? Also in terms of marketing, we have been, it's a stereotype. We believe that tourists only come from Europe and America. That is the rigid way of thinking about where is your source market. We have never thought outside the box, or where. And I like somebody said yesterday, you can create a market for your product. So that is what we are lacking.
You have 1.3 million market in Africa. Forget China, forget Europe. Only we have to connect them. Here's the market is.
Yeah. That's why I said, for example, 200 million travel from China coming to the world. How many are coming to Kenya? Only 70,000. What is our strategy to improve the Chinese market to Kenya? Why don't we see the Indian market? They are 1 billion plus. How many people are going to come to the world? How many can Kenya or Africa capture? Things like the new air, the new connection to United States.
Russia.
Yes. That is another market we have not tapped yet. Russia, we have not even thought about it. How do we, the Eastern Bloc of Europe? So the countries we can see growth in Kenya is China, USA because of the flights to New York. We have seen India is another growth, and Central Europe, which is France and its surrounding. So those are the areas in the region. But again, is the paradigm shift we need to have both as government, both as the tourism board. Tourists are not necessarily coming from overseas. They can come from your neighbors. The number of people who visit Venice, for example, they don't necessarily come from all over the world. They might be coming from just around Europe. And that's why, as the SG said, we have not looked at Africa. And the biggest challenge Africa has is connectivity. And that's why I congratulate the UNWTO they're trying to put ministers of transport and ministers of tourism together so that we can open up Africa in terms of air connectivity, and unfortunately we don't have the rail network like Europe has that can be easier to travel, or the road network that Europe has. But I think it's important for us to come and think about how do we connect Africa among each other. As I say today, somebody comes from South Sudan, Juba, 1.5 hours to Nairobi. The ticket is $2,000.
It's extortion.
When today Kenya Airways is doing a deal, New York, Nairobi, at $700. Yes, that is on the deal. So these are the things we need to think together as Africans in terms of taxation, in terms of making the region to be domestic, yeah, so that we have no major taxes on the airline, and make it accessible. I know the national carriers will not be happy with this statement, but I think our responsibility is to bring the numbers in and create growth in the GDP from the extra spending in that specific country. And that is the objective that we have as the Ministry of Tourism.
Okay, but we've got about 5 minutes left. Do we have any questions from the audience? Does anyone want to ask any questions? Okay, well,
I want to ask our dear investors, first of all, to thank them, to invest in Kenya, to invest in Africa, and to recall them to reinvest in the future in this great continent. Future is here again, and let's work. I mean, we are very open. Our organization is open to receive any ideas on any kind of support. Ministry and minister himself, 24 hours or maybe more working and thinking about how to develop tourism in Kenya. So here we are, and we need investments. Investments is crucial for continent, and again, many thanks to all of you who are investing in continent, who are creating new jobs. You are creating new history, and you are changing the countries and their lives and their cultures and their style of life, I would say. So thank you again, and hope to see you next year together, talking about more things. It was really interesting and very important event, and many thanks to all participants, or organizers, organization parties also. Very important, and thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
I still have questions, though. You can,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about what you said yesterday, Mr. Balala. You asked investors not only to stop in Nairobi, but to look further afield. I mean, what are you making, let's say, the coast? How are you making that more attractive for investors to open hotels there, or to go and look at we spoke earlier, there are a number of derelict hotels at the coast. What are you doing to make the coast more attractive to investors?
Well, at one time, Kenya's tourism was booming, and not the numbers we have. That time is a smaller number, but the beach destination was booming because we have the charter airlines. We had almost 40 charters a week in Mombasa airport. So the hotels were busy. But after that, business went down because of what you already know. But also the charter business is losing interest, or the trends are changing now. People prefer to go with airlines, and they become very dynamic in pricing, but also low-cost airline. So what we have done in Mombasa as government, we have invested, or we are planning to invest in infrastructure. That's why the SGR train from Nairobi to Mombasa is busy and is being used by domestic market. So the hotels in Mombasa are benefiting. But because only the destination is Mombasa, that's why Mombasa probably is improving in terms of visitors. But then the other areas, which we are trying, as I mentioned earlier, we have the dual link to Malindi, and we are working on improving the airport so we can have Malindi Airport as a charter.
Yeah, sorry to jump in there. Do you think Malindi Airport will ever be international?
International in terms of scheduled airlines, I'm not too sure, but international in terms of charter airlines, yes. Yes, because that is a leisure destination. And because there is interest of charters going into Malindi, so that Malindi Airport will be there. But it's only 150 kilometers from Mombasa, and the dueling will make it even faster to reach to Malindi. So if you need scheduled airlines, but we have no objection of allowing scheduled airlines going into Mombasa or into Malindi. We have just agreed and granted permission to Qatar Airlines, which is going to launch their flight in Mombasa, Doha, Mombasa, on the 6th of December. So that, and we have already 4 other airlines in Mombasa, which is Turkish Airline, Rwanda Air, we have Ethiopian Airline, and now we have the Qatar Airways. So these are the ones that are going to feed into the hotels. Definitely, the hotels are tired and old, but because they have lacked businesses. So what we are doing is that we are trying to build infrastructure so we can have accessibility to this destination. The ferry has been a problem. Now we are trying to address the ferry, but the bypass that we are developing around Mombasa so it becomes easier to go to the South Coast. South Coast is Diani is the best beach destination in the continent. It was voted with TripAdvisor. So these are the things that the government will do. And then definitely we expect the investors to find partnerships and solutions to improve this, because nobody is coming with a tired property. That's for sure. Yeah? Because new properties have come in. People want to be trendy. The target market is different. It's not the old market that we used to have. So these are the things that needs to be done. If you don't invest in your property, you're not going to get clients. And investing is not just about having a bed, again. It's about having the experience of the property. If your Wi-Fi is not working in your hotel, what do you expect to get business from? That's another key issue. Technology is key, from the way you book to the way you utilize that application, to even know where your bearings are and where is the next restaurant and where is the next nightlife to go to. That is important into a destination. And that is probably where Diani needs to think, and Malindi needs to think. It's not just about hotels. It's about the experience around the area. So that mentality of imprisoning visitors into a hotel is over. People want to go into a hotel, a nice hotel, and be able to go out and dine and wine and party and interact with the local community. And that is what is going to happen.
And on that note, our time is up. I'd like to say thank you so much to both of you, Mr. Balala, Zurab. Thank you so much.
Thank you.